Testing, testing. Testing connection. Testing connection. Testing, testing. Testing connection. Testing connection. The panel, the construction of tomorrow, our invitees are Expedito Parente from the Ceara 2050, Josep Piqué, President of testing connection. Barcelona, Sampaio Filho, Director of the Federation of testing connection. The panel, the construction of tomorrow, questions for our invitees are sent through the WhatsApp Parente from the Ceara 2050, Josep Piqué, the moderator of this panel. Our invitee is the professor of the Federal University of Ceara and general coordinator of the platform Ceara 2050, Professor Barros Neto. So the floor is yours, Professor. Good panel to every one of you. So good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. We are here discussing the Ceara of tomorrow, and then I would like to thank the presence of my friend Expedito Parente, Josep Piqué, our Barcelona, so awake, in the morning, their time. So Aníbal, a friend of ours from the Ceara 2050, a reference in our state, linked to BNDES. So the idea of today is to talk about the Ceara of tomorrow. We have today all the challenges we have during this pandemic. So each day more, we have to think about tomorrow and to think good things about tomorrow. And the idea is to chat about it. We have 4 authorities with this subject. So the idea is to chat freely. So I'll ask you to present yourselves, to talk a little bit about yourselves, and then we may wait for some questions, and then we can ask among us. And if something is left over, I can do my questions. And Expedito, please speak your mind about the Ceara of tomorrow. Okay, Barros Neto, thank you. Good evening. So it's a pleasure to have you here, to see you, even if it's not in person. I would like to greet Josep Piqué. It's a pleasure to see you again. Sampaio, always an important actor in innovation and planning. And my friend Aníbal, a great achievement of this 2020, the interaction and the friendship we've been developing. So it's an honor to me to make part of this panel. As you told, I am privileged to make part of this coordination of the platform Ceara 2050. And I am integrating the staff of the Executive Secretariat of Commerce and Innovation of SEDET, coordinating the actions of innovation within this secretariat. And with Secretary Julio Cavalcanti and also Mr. Maia Jr. So it's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, this adventure we've been conducting to the platform Ceara 2050 that aims to be a reference of long-term strategy for the state of Ceara. And during the debate with the questions, I can detail further what this platform means. Well, thank you, Expedito. We'll talk a little bit more, and I would like to pass the floor to my friend Piqué on how he sees this issue of innovation, the Ceara of tomorrow, since you have a foot here in Ceara with some projects, so you are entitled to talk about it and as a reference, world reference to talk about tomorrow. Please, Piqué. Thank you very much. Good evening. So it's a pleasure to me to be here, to you specifically, to talk talk about Ceara and Fortaleza, a state I know very well. I would like to be in person, but it's not possible. But since we have this pandemic time, so let's keep up the social distance, right? And this is a very strong recognition of this work, Ceara 2050, with the clear understanding that we may have we may have a collective mission to have a future, and then we must have imagination to have vision. Vision is not about to think; it's we need to think in the long term and structural changes, disruptive changes, and then gathering together, we can work in a way that we transform the urban, the economy, and in the territories. As I presented in the, I have this company, La Salle. I've been working in Barcelona, as a leader in our district of innovation. And we've worked at the most degradable area in Barcelona with great social issues. And now it's a prime zone, it's a state-of-art zone, and it started as with a vision in the year 2000, and we are in 2020, and we've had more than 90,000 workers in this field. So it's important to have a vision then, and to have a common vision, to also with the civil society. So congratulations. I recognize this work of Ceara, and let's foster this vision, and let's create awareness about the collective understanding of this future. And an impactant vision is to know that the future is ours. If each one of us make their own future, there will be no future. So we are a collective that are summing up efforts to find common spaces, and it's more it goes beyond a political mandate of 4 years, and we need to be generous, and it's our mission for the current people and for the future generations. I'm glad to be here talking about these mechanisms to build a future, and it's possible when we have a clear mission and strategy and a plan of action, and I'll be glad to share all the actions we have done here to help you in Ceara. Thank you, Piqué. I would like to invite now our friend Aníbal for broadened vision in BNDES, following up our Ceara 2050, what he thinks about this planning. Aníbal, please. Oh, good evening. I'm happy to be here with you, to see all these friends, Expedito, Barros, Neto, Sampaio, and Piqué, that I'm making acquaintance. And I'm from Fortaleza. I had the opportunity with 17 years old to study in the Aeronautics Institute of Technology, and then I had the opportunity to come back to Ceara and a context of National Bank of Development, trying to understand the question of this meeting of ours. What's the tomorrow of Ceara? And we have lots of things happening, lots of ideas on movement that sometimes someone unaware believes that is a subject that is obscure matter, but it's impressive when you see the 2050 planning, the maps from the Federation of Industry. It's impressive, the works of the health districts, the efforts of the health secretariat together with the team of Dr. Piqué And so I'm having this opportunity to conduct some clients within BNDES with the states of São Paulo, Santa Catarina, Paraná, and we are very happy to see what's happening in Ceara. I've had the opportunity to work specifically with the state of Ceara, and then I had the opportunity to work with the Ceara's companies. What we saw, and being very fair with all that happens, there is that Ceara is a kind of locomotive, intellectual locomotive in Brazil. So we have 9.1 million of inhabitants, but if you take a good look in every big intellectual forums, for example, the International Olympics of Mathematics, for example, recently we have an Asian Olympic competition. We had someone from Ceara being awarded. Then we can imagine a future where all this resilient capacity, all this vocation, so packed in this term, in this name, Ceara, may give the flow to a new reality, a more equal reality, a more healthy reality, an inspiring reality. So filling these spaces with imagination and hard work, I think it's the greatest challenge of people from Ceara these days. And I agree with Piqué that when he talks that it must be a shared dream, I may say that Ceara has already this dream for a long time, and now we need to accomplish this dream, because every person from Ceara, and we are a people that we migrate a lot, searching for opportunities. We have more than 80% of our territory in the semi-arid climate, so dry land. When people from here, they dream, and they dream about new opportunities. And the National Bank of Development, Social Development in Brazil, we are keen on this mission, and I can help people to understand. Thank you, Aníbal. We have now our friend Sampaio, reference of innovation in our state. The floor is yours. Thank you, Barros Neto. Good evening to you all. It's a great pleasure to be here participating on this panel. I'd like to thank and congratulate all the organization of the Ceara Global on behalf of Ricardo Cavalcanti, our president. And as you told, I'm a great enthusiastic about this panel to work with the future generations, for working for network vision, partnering up, always summing up, avoiding overlapping, and something I always say that we need to walk together. And in Ceara, we have this vibe. So we are kind of outliers. We're different from other states in our country, and then we have this strength, this potential, this intelligence, and it makes us to be enthusiastic. And policies of state, the Expedito and other fellows told about this vision of Ceara has of having a state project. It's not a government project if we are talking about the Ceara of tomorrow. So let's detail the strategic routes, our potential for the future, every potential that has been raised here through the observatory of the industry in our Federation of Industries. We have this creative economy, circular economy, seawater economy, the greatest word, flags. And so we need to face the sea, for example. It's a flag we'll raise this federation since President Ricardo assumed his mandate, and he got this fight for him, this flag of the seawater economy, and he will leave a legacy in this 573 kilometers of shore. So I think this debate here will be very rich and very valuable. Thank you, Sampaio. I think a theme that's been mentioned a lot here in this introduction you gave is the thing about innovation. So I see a lot and I follow a lot this process of innovation and process of the Ceara 2050 as one of the drivers of innovation, for innovation. I'd like to hear from you. How do you see innovation? How do you see the application within the vision of the Ceara of tomorrow? How do you see innovation as a great conductor of this process? The floor is open. So let me start this answer, giving you some food for thought, teasing you, justifying your question and justifying the answer. One of the motivations is to have a blank paper to look at the future. It's not being bold out of nothing. We are being bold because of some good reasons. I'd like to tease you because the Ceara has been growing a lot in the last 30 years. We can notice it. It grew a lot. But if we project the same rhythm of the last 30 years, in 2050, Ceara will have lots of gaps yet. You know it. We've been discussing this a lot. For example, if we look at this average education index, if we grow the level of education in the next years, in 2040, we'll achieve the same position of the federal districts of Brasilia. And I'm fishing here some numbers. If we look at child mortality in 2035, we'll achieve the level of the state of Santa Catarina. It's not fair to accept this situation. As much as we are enthusiastic on how Ceara grew, we need to rethink the model of development. We need to take a leap to learn from this historical average. And so innovation is one of the few mechanisms that allows us in its concept itself. So a leap of productivity, we couldn't address yet the poverty, the inequalities. So in these efforts to take a blank paper to rethink the future of state, so what we've been doing here, so the FIEC of the strategic routes, the state government of Ceara 2050, the Fortaleza of the program 2040, is to rethink the development of the state. And innovation, no doubt, is absolutely associated to this idea of rethink. And now I pass the floor to our colleagues. Just to guide a little bit, I would like to take advantage of your words. So Piqué, we've been working a lot with this innovation thing. You have a close relationship with the state of Ceará, and I'd like you to explain within your international experience how innovation can be a driver, can guide us here in our state with our particularities. It's very important, the process of imagination. First of all, for starters, who I'm gonna be. So if I don't know who I want to be, I don't know what I need to do. So in this 2050 thing. It's a decision of understanding which challenges I need to address, because the vision is an exercise of imagination, and the vision and the current moment, something that we can, and then we can see the challenges. So innovation is important because the agenda of innovation is an agenda of challenges, and if we know which challenges we have, we can design an action plan. So we have this territorial and urban and infrastructure challenges, economical challenges, or which kind of economy, of health, energy, food, and social challenges as well. Can we accept the Human Development Index to be the same, or we want to accelerate them, to change them? So that's when we see the importance of technology. So technology, together with the talent, are the two bases of the knowledge economy. So talent and innovations, productivity and competitiveness, and employment. So the raw matter of Ceara, the most important raw matter is the talent. So in every place in the world, we need to put value on talents. And in the 21st century, it's not about to put value in the strength of the technology. As I told Sampaio about innovation, as Sampaio told us about innovation. So the challenge is an holistic challenge and a urban challenge, territorial, social, and also governance. Then Sampaio reinforced the idea, the importance of the to work together. So universities, not only in the university we have talents, we have training, technology, when we need to create entrepreneurs and to have disruptive innovations. Usually, we need to have activities from new players and people that think differently. And for example, to address a problem in the hotel industry, you need people that maybe from different sector to give the answers. So I need to have how to give the answers on behalf of technological entrepreneurs. And with the talent and the technology and with funding, same thing. I will explain about smart money. So $1 million, for example, $10,000 is maybe much more important when I am starting my endeavor at $1 million, when I need to scale it up. And so innovations and challenges, and then action plan. So, and this Ceara is doing in a very good basis. It's doing very well. Like, for example, it impressed me, like Dr. Cabeto, the health secretary. He traveled to Barcelona, and he wanted to know how Barcelona had transformed the whole neighborhood. And then he didn't copy our solution. He established a district of innovation called Porangabuçu and Fortaleza, a neighborhood in Fortaleza, with social and technological and economical challenges. So, and we can't. We need to address the inequalities, and we can't have a maximum equal society and then inclusive, because otherwise we create the social tensions. And then we already know this, the greatest liberating factor is the education. So and then education for innovation. And answering the question, I think that Ceara is doing right with this understanding, that, as I saw in the area of health, example, oh, this innovation, the solutions will arrive from Barcelona, from Boston, and I'll be here looking how the world is being defined by the others. No, I am a protagonist in this world, and I can write this history. And to write my history is to know how can I build a future that we want to develop. So this bet in Porangabuçu district in Fortaleza is a bet that Dr. Cabeto and that defines to be not at ease with the current reality and to make it better. So to not be at ease, to not be conformist with the actual reality. So Dr. Cabeto is achieving to be committed and also thinking about Ceara and Fortaleza. This is the key element to assure this development. So if this in this Porangabuçu district surprised me, and also the transformation in Eusébio, where we have the technological pole of Fiocruz, so a vaccine world leader in public health. So you have in Ceará a world leader that is a public entity in Brazil, and it's a world leader. So in this innovation pole, shows that applied intelligence and not only closed researches, so they can bring innovations for technological park, and this vision to be a reference in health with an action plan, and an action plan that transform territorially and economically, important, and also actions that transform socially. And because of this, I think uh, it's important when we talk about innovation, and then we talk about challenges, and to talk about challenges, to talk about where I want to arrive. And then so these challenges that the kids in Ceará, they can be very educated on. So if to the kids to be very educated, it's a challenge. To have a good health, public health system, another challenge. So and then we need to articulate the ecosystem. And I think the work that Ceará, the state government, and the municipalities of Eusébio and Fortaleza with their city halls, so they have a vision in common. So, and it must not be only a vision, and then we must have a vision and an action plan, and to have the opportunities, and not only read properly the problems, but to read, to identify the opportunities, and with the proper technologies. And then, and soon we'll have a tsunami of technologies available, and we'll have enterprises like Siemens, for example, that will be make their bets in Ceará, because so in this context I would not want to go further. So it's important to see we have the vision, a strategy, and an action plan, and the action plan must arrive, in the to the persons in their territories. Thank you, Piqué. And now, Aníbal, you've been mentioned, you'll be quoted, and then you have the right to your reply of maybe have your vision. Don't know if we have this financist vision, but a vision of a bank. You're very well connected. How can you see this issue subject about innovation? Ceará 2050. How can you see this innovation process in this whole context of the construction of a tomorrow? Well, something I would like to mention is that innovation needs to be smart. It's something funny to say, but it's true. That you can be the greatest player, and it may be not enough. On the other hand, have a bold positioning in the sense to transform the rules of the game itself. And in the history of economy, we've always had, following the development, something, some changes in the rules of the game. I think the first thing is the innovation cannot be seen as a limiting bias, but as the king of the game, that one who established the rules. And before playing the game, you need to think about the rules you're following and which rules you can modify, for the benefit of that place you are, where you are playing the game. That's the first point. So following this, I would like to say that innovation with as a no limit concept and in the deeper in this global and this post-industrial model, we have the situation of global situation. So the money, we search for money not only here and there, it's available in the planetary scale since it exists some level of articulation. And on the other hand, we have genuine talent, the global level. I think this is something that Ceara has itself, and unfortunately, but by its structure, it loses some, and we have this significantly drainage of brains from Ceara to the rest of the world, so not achieving to keep their talents. So problems faced by other countries, Ceara is very important. Maybe because we're playing and without thinking about changing the rules of the game. So, and the subject about the global talent is about smart money. So, and I could say that strategic money. So money is not in certain way a commodity because it's a different flow of money in the world. Despite the pandemic, you have a way to reallocate, but sometimes the talent in front of the money, it gets embarrassed. It thinks that money will somehow annihilate his potential. It will treat him in the evil way, letting alone all the value of the talent, and in somehow uh, stealing that value in a financist perspective. And maybe it's not the healthier way to think about the world. In fact, the money available in the world is available together with a very important intelligence. It's concentrated in funds. We've had lots of successes in other endeavors, and they can bring not only money but expertise. It's a very important thing that some people from Ceará putting in practice. If you get a Pague Menos group with General Atlantic, an American fund that put in practice the idea that the money contributes not only financially but helping understanding scenarios and to project future. That's the role of smart money. So in talking about money, I think it's important to for tomorrow for Ceará. And this is endogenous money. So the state of Ceará can put 3 million of public investment per year. On it, we stretch out, so can say that 3 billion. So when you get the private sector in Ceará and the modus operandus here, we have 9 billion for the private sector. So you have 12 billion reais in this Ceará's economy for 9.1 million of inhabitants, and it's not too much to guarantee 1.5 percentage of growth, but we are willing 5 to 7% in order to, in the row of 15 years, Ceará can revert of what's strange. Ceará is 4% of the population and 2.5% of the GDP, so we have a gap per capita in Ceará that will not be addressed with this 1.5% of growth annually. In order to grow 7 to 8%, it's not enough to put 12 billion in the economy. So 12 billion will arrive only 1.5, 2% maximum of growth. And we're talking about maybe a value that arrives in 50 billion reais per year. So how can you find these other 38 billions to put in the economy of Ceará? So this is the most serious thing, and I'm thinking about to find this 38 billion. So it's Sampaio, Giuseppe, and well, they have the answer. So innovation, talent, and articulation. So we can't think this money will arrive out of nothing, because no, all of the world, this money is being disputed. So why this money will not go to Norwich again? But then we have our indexes like the Human Development Index. So we have companies that only invest in some places with 0.9, 0.9 and something HDI. So when you think about, for example, change to another city with look to this HDI. So this index to that been created to help improve in inequalities. They nowadays it's like it serves as a drive to develop some places that are already developed. So that's a rule of the game. So when you don't change the rules of the game, you only go deeper on inequalities. And the solution for this is innovation. So what's the mind model behind this? I think the most important question is not the idea of Sampaios or Piqué or Expedito will change Ceara alone. How can we renew our values from our people? How's the social innovation that will happen to give us some breath to make this change happens? So in terms of state government, Ceara has been bright. So for example, the digital belt, Ceara is the most cabled state in Brazil. We have one of the worst per capita GDPs of Brazil, but we have the best internet. We have more than 8,000 kilometers of digital belt. It's very in a fantastic vision. The other states are willing to copy, and they have no more time. So we are almost with 20 underwater cables, oceanic cables arriving. And when they arrive here in Fortaleza, they are distributed to almost every city within the state. In a pandemic world with home office, working of non-physically, so we have everything going through optic fibers. So we only want to change our mindset, our people's mindset. So, and I'm favorable. So, and the rules now are somehow favorable. I think every society in the world that's been through extensive periods of development, it's important to pass through social and intellectual movements to move society from this bias in order to the strength of people from Ceará develop our own force to develop our state. So if you get where I studied, Technological Institute of Aeronautics, HDI of the municipality within the ITA is positioned, and we have CPA, Technical Aerospatial Center, inside the Technological Institute of Aeronautics. So who created this CTA? A man from Ceará, Casemiro Montenegro, who has been the main engineer of the CTA. So another one from Ceará. So it's time to review the rules of the game, and maybe that's the most difficult innovation, because it's a collective, it's a mandatory collective innovation. Okay, Aníbal. So very interesting and questioning, and we'll get back to this subject, but I would like to hear from Sampaio. When I met Sampaio, he was younger, he was thinner, and we've been working about this innovation thing. And within FIEC with our president, Roberto Macedo. And from that time, lots of things changed. I think it would be interesting that Sampaio could talk about this mindset that Aníbal told us about. How do you find these challenges, thinking about this Ceara of tomorrow? I'd like to hear from you, my friend. So Barros Neto, I see innovation. So before I enter these details you commented about, I think we need to bring to the core of these discussions people, okay? The talent of ours we need to bring into these discussions about innovations. Very well stated about from Expedito, from all our mates. But we can't see a tomorrow if we don't bring people to the center of the debates. We talk a lot about innovation and technologies and digital transformation, but we need to think about the human being, about people, and these thinking brings the vision of partnership, of network, in order we to strengthen this scarce world we are, mostly in the northeastern region of Brazil, that we may avoid actions, though lots of companies doing the same thing, that we can avoid this shadowing of all these actions to have more effective results. When we started this legacy, when I say our, we talking about the actions of Ceara itself, I realized that our Federation of Industry in Ceara, alone would arrive nowhere. We had to bring partners, and in order to bring these partners, we needed to create this environment with all these ecosystems, with all these strengths we have in Ceara. And one of the big, in principle, we got kind of astonished with the potential, and this astonishment is a very constructive feature. So about the potential we have in our state, who made a picture of our health system, health economy. I may tell you with no doubt that if we reunite all these individual powers we have in the state of Ceará and all this articulation within this ecosystem that Piqué told us, with Dr. Cabeto, for instance, is a very determined and persistent man to work on this. We'll have around 4 to 5 CSTs in our GDP, bringing more wealth to our state. And when we start to map all these things that we brought to this environment, for example, the Board of Innovation and Technology, that nowadays, in order you to see the dimension, when we started this Polytech, this Board of Innovation and Technology, in 2015, we did an agenda to first Friday of each month. In the first meeting, we've invited 40 institutions. In the first meeting, we've got no one present. And then the secretary was with me, Sampaio, what should we do? And I liked very much, I like always to tell this story to Piqué, Aníbal, because Expedito and Barros Neto, they know already. Yes, they've heard a lot about this story, but it's important to tell because we must value the network we have today and the ecosystem and the creation of this environment, because all this power, these forces united will give us the power we need today. So we created this agenda and did this first meeting with no one attending. Then the second meeting, the first Friday of the next month, and we had one institution present, Tebrai, by the time, our great partner of us within our ecosystem. And so, well, to make this long story short, we have nowadays more than 40 institutions composing this innovation ecosystem in Ceara, and then FINEP, FUNCAP, Hubini from BNB, reproductive sector, too many, Federal University of Ceará, Unifor, IFCE, SEDET, from with Julio, the Secretary Julio, great work of innovation, the Secretary of Science and Technology with Inácio Arruda, FUNCAP with Tarcísio and Jorge. So we have more than 40 institutions composing this innovation board. I like to tell the story because all these discussions about innovation, today we have an index of innovation within the states, an index have been created inside the industry federations, validated inside the board, and it's a reference in all over Brazil, so created with lots of actors. That's why I tell you the innovation board is not anymore owned only by the Federation of Industries. And this power we have today is making a difference in our state. When we started here to develop the strategic routes of the vision for 2025, we thought afterwards, how could we get these projects out of this strategic routes, 14 strategic routes, 14 sectors that have been thought, together, productive sector, state government, academics, society, civil society, developing these 14 sectors, participating and acting and putting up all the difficulties we've had. And these difficulties we've had, we continue to have. And I think it's, for example, universities only perform researches to put in their shelves, that the industrials doesn't open space for the university. And this is a comfort zone speech. And we got rid of it. And we're bringing people and always thinking about a vision of state policy construction. So Ceará has been growing due to their state policies being developed during time. So very well put by Aníbal. Aníbal told about the digital belt, the optic fiber cables underwater. So we have a great potential, but our greatest asset is our talent. So this pragmatic thing about our people, this persistence our people they have. So wherever we go in the world, we see someone from here and in a highlight position. That's the most important thing. So we have all these resources in our hands, these positive resources. We have a fertile soil, then we have this in our state, and you are seeing we are each day more united, or each day more strong with this reunion of the universities with the industries. We have this great project by FUNCAP. So this is a revolution in place, When we talk about the observatory of the industry, and then I invite you to know better, come to our federation and to know better about the observatory of the industry. We've been awarded we've been internationally awarded by the PwC because of the methodology we've used within this observatory. So it's a huge construction, and we're together. And when we need to talk to the government, we reach the government. When we need to talk to the academics, we can reach the academics. And I started to identify people. We don't go to the university, you know, we've identified the person of interest. We try to find, for example, Professor Barros Neto, and also the dean, the new dean with a totally different vision, building a condominium of entrepreneurship and innovation in the university. We have the IFCE advancing a lot. We have the Embrapi from our state, reference in Brazil. Have FINEP with its own regional office in Fortaleza. So we have all the resources we need. So we have a great responsibility. So, but by the same time, we are accountable for it. We have this challenge, but we have this good challenge because we have all the resources. All people want to take part of it, and the advantage is to have this gear working each day more, and we can overcome all the obstacles that sometimes we are having, and these obstacles and all the strength, with all these institutions together, there's no way we cannot overcome these obstacles, and I'll be here. Otherwise, I'll be talking alone here, and we can. It's interesting to make a comment. We're participating for too much live. So who's that live? I'm gonna go to a live. I'm gonna go to a live. She's thinking live is the name of a woman I have. So I was in a debate within the National Park of Ceara. We're doing the strategic planning together with Professor Fernando Nunes. That in this field we've been discussing of all the actions that we've had, because we need to link the park to these actions, not to be another thing. In the process, we had the presence of the strategic routes. We talked about Ceara 2050, talked about Fortaleza 2040, and we had Julio talking about the clusters, development of Ceara 2050, finding economic clusters within the 14 regions of the state of Ceara. And it's very important. We noticed that we had this vision to work each day more together. We had that question. Well, we needed to have a single plan. No, I think we must have aligned plans, because each one of us, you know, we have our own objectives. But it's okay, but we need to align. So Ceara 2050 must be aligned to Fortaleza 2040. And yesterday I was in another live with Dr. Cabeto, gave us interesting information. So 7% of our GDP is invested in health and tourism. 7% of our GDP is from health market, and tourism participates with 3%, because we have the impression that tourism is stronger than other sectors, for example, and it called my attention. The health market is 7% of our GDP, while tourism is 3% only. And getting your words, putting a hook in your words, I'm talking about, about 2050, because I've been part of the team talking with Miranda, Lima Matos, in the coordination of this process. But one thing that we have to work on is the question about productivity. So we have, with this evolution of our training of our professionals, not only of our students, not only our professionals, but our students. In 2018, Ceara stepped up 13 positions in the high school ranking because of the youth that came from the basic education, and then they've entered in the high school, and then they will be in the universities. But our productivity is not blossoming yet, and it's very linked to this question about Aníbal. Aníbal told us about mindset. We need to be more sharp and more, let's say, I'm good and I want to succeed, you know. I think we have a narrow-minded vision, narrow vision, because I would like to hear from you what you think about it. And then the floor is open. Well, I would like to give an example to illustrate very well all this strength that Sampaio enthusiastically put about the Ceara. I would like to make a reference of this challenge that we've been passing through, this pandemic of COVID-19. If we have a reading of what happened in the last 5 or 6 months, I would highlight Ceara as a kind of sample. So in 6 months that we can wait in a very long-term work. So in 6 months, we had a very concentrated transformation brought by this virus event. And I've had the privilege to make part of a work group that advises a multi-institutional committee that the governor created, and we extract from it a series of illustrations of what Ceara 2050 wanna be. So first of all, every institution had a common challenge. It had to overcome this pandemic, to survive this virus with brutal capacity of contamination that could collapse the whole health system. So second place, the governor decided to not take the decision alone. He decided to assemble an institutional committee to take the decisions together with him. And we've heard during this process a testimonial from the federal public prosecutor's office. And so the prosecutor commented that the state of Ceara is not giving, it's not bothering, it's not giving a lot of work to the public prosecutor's office, because, you know, other states are giving a lot to do to the public prosecutor's office, and Ceara, on the other hand, is not. So we, in the second open plan of economy, we are not, have no backward movements. So we are always advancing. So we have no state similar to Ceara. So the peak of the number of deaths in 24 hours, and regarding the opening of the economy, shows the efficiency of a work with a coordinated vision, with lots of innovation. We that know what Ceara is doing, the presence of science, the presence of technology, this episode, this situation we're living, revealed the smart Fortaleza in lots of aspects. So a citizen, it was registered as a as an infected person. We could track the buses that this infected person he got in the last days, and also the other people that, for example, went through a door, a bus door, after this infected person. So we could identify these people. So I'm just giving you an example of the smart city we have. So in a concentrated way, for example, in the last 6 months, that will last until the vaccine, there's the capacity of innovation and the management to handle a crisis and to develop. So I think it's been a great learning. And then we can extrapolate, if we can externalize this COVID-19 committee, and we ask here to keep this routine, to keep the participation of all the people creating a strategic, unique strategic path. And I would like to recall your question about the productivity and pass the floor to the others. Well, about productivity, what happens is we have two words behind productivity, so talent and technology. Productivity is talent and technology. If a worker, for example, if I don't provide him the necessary technology, he won't be productive. He's a worker, and if he don't have the necessary education, and he can't use the technology. So let's imagine that Sampaio and Aníbal, I give Sampaio a computer, and then to Aníbal I give a pen. So, and if I ask him to write a letter, so they will make a letter. Might be the same time. But if I ask 1,000 letters, Aníbal with the pen, he can't be productive. Even if he worked thousands of hours, he couldn't be more productive as Sampaio with the computer. So talent and technology. And we can imagine that technology is the same for if we work with Microsoft Word, if everyone has the same technology. So the education, the capacity of using the same technology is different. And that's why German, they pay the workers in the sector of automobile 6,000 euros per month, because they are more qualified workers. So that's where we have the big debate, to have technology and to create own technology, to know how to build the capacity. And if we combine this, we'll assure the productivity. But the productivity is not enough. Productivity is in the stage of the exploration of the scale. And when we do something, the same thing many times, and then technology helps me. So to have productivity, we must have innovation by our side, because innovation is the exploration of something not done. So it's different from the exploitation. So and then I explore what's next. So, and to explore is to do new things. I need to explore, as Expedito said, so how to find people, infected people. No, that's not productivity, that's innovation. And that's the importance of the role of the role of the Federal University of Ceara. That's critical. It's fundamental that the university be a pillar for the knowledge, not only with two functions, a pillar with three functions. The first one is the training function, formation, so prepare professionals. The second one is research, technology. And many times they have talent and technology, and then when they arrive in the market, arrive in the companies, and I have big data and artificial intelligence, and well, I don't know. I want a kilogram of artificial intelligence, a liter. Well, they cannot buy the technology. That's when we start to see that university must create and transfer technology and talent to with new startups. I was talking with Dr. Cabeto, the great opportunity we have the health system, so the medical devices and all the solutions. So we saw the importance of the pilots and prototypes and ideas, and we started to see a kind of paradox thing that the first line of the globalization is the local dimension. So the first client, first sophisticated client, if it's local, helps me to understand locally, to go global. It's not only about science and technology, it's also about market. To adopt and to accept, to buy things that doesn't exist, to create and to trust and to develop pilots and prototypes, products that doesn't exist, to validate them here locally, and then afterwards scale them. So it's not about productivity, innovation, not only exploitation, but exploration. These two frameworks, necessary levels, we'll have a Ceara, state of Ceara, leader in innovation and productivity, and consequently productivity, competitiveness. So Aníbal, Sampaio, may I choose? Aníbal, please. Yeah, let's keep the order as we've been following, right? To facilitate your mediation. Well, we kind of mix up two topics sometimes together. It's an important moment to mix them from on one hand the mindset and the other hand productivity. First aspect I would like to highlight is I would like to say that something very special is happening. That's the first point. Acknowledge the Federation of Industries work, the state government work, federal university, the institutes, federal institutes, chief scientists. We have lots of things happening, becoming national references, and they must become global reference, because I think this is the great mindset changing. So to talk about mindset, I would like to recall that when you talk about states development, the Brazilian state, for example, when you develop all that framework to develop what you have available, so you don't have a theory of development for a state. Usually you have for countries. So the states, they remain in a framework that the reference is the neighbor state. For example, state of Ceará refers to Piauí, and the reference is itself to, and Pernambuco is São Paulo with Rio de Janeiro, Santa Catarina with Paraná. And this reference, whether it's fair or not, sometimes it's fair, but it's limiting, because when I have the greatest digital belt in the country, it doesn't mean I achieved my greatest potential. So it's the thing is not to be the best in Brazil. It's the greatest challenge is to reach your maximum potential, and the greatest waste is to throw away your potential. For example, to enter a room and you have a computer, the maximum potency is serving to hold a door, for example. Wow, what a waste, such a waste of resources. to a high state-of-art computer to hold a door. And so sometimes we don't question a human being for the same thing. For example, a human being working, pushing buttons of an elevator. I think the first topic of mindset will define the second topic about productivity in a very important way. And the next, the most challenging step is to leave the common reference comparison with other states and start to believe, to understand what Ceara represents to the world. For example, Ceara has 500 kilometers of shore. The Norwich, they have 3 times more shore and 100 times more yield in fishing. Why? The population is they have less inhabitants, so human beings are that different. One of the Norwegians, they produce 100 times more fishing than us. Let's talk about Israel with 8.89 million inhabitants, so almost the same population we have here in Ceara. The GDP in Israel is 10 times the GDP of Ceara, and Israel has 1/6 of our territory, so it's easy. So when you compare the neighbor state that lacks of exploiting all its potential, so when you put this in a broader framework, you see the time you're losing thinking you are with a competitive advantage. I think that would be the first point. So the productivity as a result of a mindset referencing other institutions, other places, other human beings, let's put that way. Companies in Ceara, on their in turn, they have usually a familiar company, and they normally not boosted, not financed. They sometimes they have no bank account with public development banks. That's the traditional model. It's part of our culture. Okay. But it's a mindset that occasionally is not being followed by the rest of the world. So within our state, you have a group like SAS, for example, an educational group. They put together a startup and they went public in NASDAQ, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, their worth is much bigger than all the other groups of the Ceara. It's like, and they brought, for example, the group Positivo, a group from Ceara, buying Positivo, another group, through going public in the stock market. So these innovations, is the way I think and much I can potentialize my growth, I think is a key element in this challenge Ceara is facing. We are on the edge of a revolution, but we are shy. We are shy, still shy to enter this door, because to enter this door, it means to get rid of what I was used to, and it's complicated sometimes. And as much bigger things are, so it's much bigger the challenges about reflection, about psychological positioning, emotional, and obviously inside this perspective we have these challenges of breaking paradigms through innovation, breaking the rules through innovation arrangements that not necessarily are with technology. As Piqué told, you have the startups, you have bigger broader companies, we have governmental, we have an ecosystems, as Sampaio told us, the innovation ecosystem. And bottom line, we have, so this compared to the rest of the world gave us the result we wanted. Well, if not, let's change, let's adapt, let's innovate, let's do something the rest of the world occasionally discovered how to do. Well, maybe something is lacking. Let's see the offices of patent and royalties. Israel, for example, they have $800,000 for one office of patent, and how this can talk with the notion of concept of ecosystem. I think that's it. Thank you, Aníbal. So Sampaio, please. Well, I see that the world, this thing about business, the business will become predators or preys, and this thing about changing mindset that Aníbal told us. I think that's the primary factor for all this changing in productivity. And then we have lots of paradigms to break regarding productivity. We talk a lot about productivity, and we have that image of the 4.0 industry, and we talk about 4.0 industry. Our industry is still 2.0, and you're talking about 4.0, and I'm within Federation of Industries, you know. When we raise these discussions, I listen to these feedbacks, and I would like to tell a short story about a pilot project that implemented here by Senai in partnership with Sebrae. So to put sensors, you know, sensors in the production lines in two companies. One of this animal feeding sector, another I'm talking about small things. And we've had these sensors in the production line, so in the bakery and in the animal feeding industry. And the industrial managers started to see all the statistics in their cell phone. So how many times the machine broke, how many breaks the machine during the day, how many breaks the employees took during the day. Because, you know, during the day, they cannot see all these things because the owner of a bakery or of an animal feeding small industry, they do everything. They manage and they buy and they sell and they visit clients. I'm talking about small companies, okay? And why I'm telling you this? Because we have references of companies in Ceara. So to put sensors, others have the biggest steel plant in Ceara of animal feeding of the greatest manufacturers, for example, and it called my attention. The health market is 7% of our GDP, while tourism is 3% only. Drugstore group. And taking, getting your words, and we have this putting a hook in your words. I'm talking about, well, about 2000, that 50, because I've been part of the team, those talking with small Miranda, Lima Matos, in coordination of this process. In their but one thing that we have to work on is question about productivity. So the company we have hired to perform these installations with the evolution that, of our gave this space to have installed the things. They spent 30% of the value because the other 70% have been the other has been funded by Sebrae and Senai. So they've invested something around 3,000 reais. You can see what I'm trying to tell you about productivity, to break this, our pragmatism. And I'm talking from inside the Federation of Industry of Ceara, because a lot of people think to perform 4.0 is something, from outer space, and people doesn't see their product, they may scale, overnight. And we've had lots of examples during the pandemic. A lot of people reinventing themselves, earning money in a way they could not think, and they innovate. And they innovated in process, innovated in the way of thinking, innovated in products and the way they delivered, how they could deliver their products. So things we need to think and to have this break on this paradigm, start to think, not think outside the box. We need to think without the box, okay, to throw the box away, to have this open mind to absorb all this knowledge that we have today. We have this lot of knowledge. We must give visibility to know how to communicate this. And now bring this issue to you, human resources. Our human resources, our capacity we have to transform these challenges we have in the state of Ceara. So it's recognized, and recognized more by people from outside Ceara than the people from inside. We're having, and because people here, they just obstacles, and all the strength come from outside the state. All these institutions together, there's no way we cannot. And I like to overcome these obstacles. My grandpa used to, for example, Professor Barros Neto, or we run, or whether we run, whether we'll be overtaken. So, and I like to go fast and go beyond. So Sampaio, I would like to talk something about this productivity yield, productivity things, about infrastructure, ambience, lots of aspects that contribute. I would like to highlight some once again. One of the main points adopted about Ceara 2050, the things about inequalities. Again, this episode about COVID-19 revealed a lot. So while we have these inequalities, whether social, whether regional, in Ceara, by each about infrastructure, production, from ambience, we have two informal, lots of aspects that contribute. I'd like to highlight some time to once again increase the one of the main points adopted about Ceara 2050, the things about inequalities. Again, this episode about COVID-19 revealed international reality. We are much below, far away from. So it's while we do not address these problems, we are not we're not playing in the first division. So we'll not be playing the first division. We must address this inequality thing in Ceara if we want to distribute over society all these elements. We talked about mindset and innovation. And for this, the excellence in the public service is important, because in order to have excellent quality and innovation, we can't depend on the private sector. A public service of an excellent public service is primordial to fight inequality, and the equality is a primordial element in the search of productivity. So we are arriving in the end. I have this work to coordinate this process and to own time. I would like to pass the floor to our invitees for their final remarks regarding the Ceara of tomorrow, construction of tomorrow. So I'd like you to talk in 2 minutes. What can you see for this construction of tomorrow. Let's start with Piqué and finish with Expedito or with Aníbal. Okay, Piqué. So I think, bottom line, we agree that agenda as an agenda of challenges to arrive in a future, to understand clearly. It's not an abstract future. It's a future I want, a future I wish to my economy, to my territory, and most of all, and Sampaio told us very well, it's important to have knowledge and trust. And as Aníbal told us, the greatest limit to Ceara, the future of Ceara is ourselves. We are our limit. I am my limit. So the president of the United States, for example, I am my limit. So that's why my final remarks is to trust and to work and to imagine and to act for innovation. Aníbal. Oh, I would like to thank this opportunity to be here debating about this very important subject in a very important place. I see the Ceara as see in a very tranquil way that all our challenges will be addressed. I see the Ceara, going right and going too much right. So it's abnormal that we're not a reference and other things. It will be difficult to hold our impetus to survive, We are 80% of our territory with rocky soil and without water. And however, we have Fortaleza as the 5th city of the country. We have lots of people from Ceara, so doing well in universities around the world, so always with high performance. Despite challenges brings us anxiety, trying to discover how things will happen, how the next chapter will be. Well, I already know the next chapter answer. Will keep working right, and by the end, things will go right because we left some place too much difficult to some place much simpler. So the changing is not physical anymore. We have a revolution happening in our agribusiness, starting with cotton culture, historic culture of ours. We have a digital revolution happening. We have the only port with a strong partnership, Rotterdam, so the private terminal, the port of Pecém that dragged out boldly this great international player to occasionally and eventually perform new routes. So the physical infrastructure is ready, and the challenge is to find inside us the psychological and emotional paths, the mind paths, to make that will make the bridge for the Ceara of tomorrow. Thank you, Aníbal. My friend Sampaio, final remarks, please. Well, I forecast the Ceara of tomorrow as one of the transformed in one of the rich states of our country, and being even more optimistic in a more long-term vision. I understand Ceara as a state of global reference inside our Brazilian country. So I believe our potential I never had any other thought, no, other than the potential, other than the how united we are. So we always can count on our people. You know, we have an example here, Aníbal, that he went to other state to study, but and now he's back. So I see a rich state, an abundant state. So rich in health, rich in skills and talents, rich in this union and this strength that Ceara has, the northeastern people has, and especially us in our state. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you all watching us. I thank you very much for the organization of the event. I congratulate you. So you're getting our state in a global basis, not only thinking locally. And I believe this will repeat in the next events of Ceará Global. May become hybrid. We can go further and further. We can show all this potential, all this capacity we have, beyond all the boundaries, all the frontiers. So, and I congratulate, on behalf of our President Ricardo Cavalcanti, I congratulate you all from Ceará Global. Ricardo, so your final remarks, please. I would like to thank Expedito, Expedito Parente. I would like to thank you for this panel for Ceará of tomorrow. I'd like to thank all the panelists, our colleagues here. And in fact, I think we, you and I, Barros, Neto, we're discussing a lot about it. When we have this pandemic, we've saw this as a threat, you know, 100 involve lots of people, 120 municipalities. We're thinking about now and today to address this problem about the health system collapse and to make obscure this moment we created. But I would like to illustrate and what the state of Ceará, not the government, how the state of Ceará is behaving in front of this pandemic. We know that lots of people are passing through, difficult, great challenges, great difficulties. But we're hoping for a vaccine. But I think this is one more illustration that things brought optimistic behavior to overcome other challenges beyond the epidemic, bigger challenges, and I corroborate and I have the same opinion, optimistic opinion as you all. I would like to thank you again. So thank you, Expedito. Now we arrived at the end of our event. I'd like to thank Expedito and Piqué, Aníbal, Sampaio, all these enthusiastic people of innovation, enthusiastic for a better state of Ceará. And I think it's very important to mention while you were talking, well, we're not worst, need better than anyone. We have all the conditions to be whatever we want to. And I studied in the United States, at Texas University, so they had a motto. So the solution of the problems of the world, they start here, in free translation. So it can be a simple thing, but to talk, but in our minds, the students' minds, they were not talking about the problem of that region. The students were thinking about all the world. So this is a challenge of ours. We have the great strength to have a Joe, that a great asset, our greatest assets, our youth, our students, is our youth. So Expedito knows that we've been traveling in two delegations, traveling through all over our states, and was very impressive participation of the students in our project. I usually say that our students here, they only need motivation. So only if we give them the proper motivation. So we have examples indeed that raised only with this movement, only giving them motivation and conditions to our students. And I would like to sign this meeting. I would like to thank Romulo by the invitation to be the moderator of discuss and to debate here with these great names. But something I recall very vividly. I've asked someone, what's your vision of the city of tomorrow? So, and in his simple mind from a countryside man, he said, I want to be happy in a better Ceara. So that's what we wish you all. We thank our debaters. We thank the audience here with us. We thank the organization, and we hope we have each day more better Ceara in some tomorrow. So thank you, Professor. Our thanks to our panelists here. Our big thanks to Expedito, Josep Piqué, Sampaio Filho, and Aníbal Costa, and thanks to our mediator, Professor Barros Neto. So, and special thanks to Expedito and to Barros Neto. This panel has been one of our co-created panels. That's the co-creation of the modeling. This panel has been created specifically in partnering with the team of Ceara 2050. And congratulations to you. Thank you all. And thank you for, our audience that followed our broadened programming. So if you liked this lecture, so thumbs up and follow Ceara Global in all our social networks as Ceara Global, and we have scheduled for tomorrow for the third day of activities in our event, showing the world, showing our Ceara to the world. Ceara Global 2020, the future in 360 degrees. We hope you will be with us tomorrow, so have a good night and have a good rest.